you. Welcome back to course database management system. So our today's topic of video is recovery techniques in database. So in the previous video we understand about the recovery. What do you mean by recovery? Why there is a need of recovery in a database management system? So what we understand, recovery means what? It's a process of restoring your database to a previous consistent state before failure occurs in the system. So this is what a recovery. Now in this video we are going to discuss about what are the different techniques that we use for the purpose of recovery. So here majorly two techniques are there. One is a log based recovery technique and second one is a shadow paging technique. We are discussing more techniques related to this, but very first we are going to discuss about log based recovery and shadow paging recovery. So we are going to discuss about the two techniques. One is a log based recovery and second one is a shadow paging technique. So what is a log based recovery technique? So log based recovery technique is totally based on the concept of log. So we already have discussion about the log. We understand what is a log. So log is considered as a metadata which stores more information about the transaction. So let's understand what information is being maintained in the log. And in the previous video we also seen forward recovery and backward recovery will make use of a log to get recover from the failure. So that log will maintain following set of information. Very first it maintains transaction ID. What is a transaction ID? Then what is the data item ID that is being used by a particular transaction? What is its old value of that particular data item? What is the new value of that data item which is changed by that particular transaction? Then TI comma start, it represents that transaction TI has started its execution. TI comma commit represent that transaction TI has committed successfully. TI comma abort represent that the transaction is cancelled just because of particular reason. And last one is TI comma xj comma v1 comma v2. So here it represents that the transaction TI has made a change in a data item xj and change its value from v1 to v2. So this is what information, this is what a set of information that is maintained in case of a log. So log based recovery will make use of this log. For each and every transaction that is being performed, a separate log has been maintained and that log maintain this kind of information. Okay, so log based recovery technique means in case of log that we are storing the information. So in that case it make use of two mechanism. First mechanism is deferred database modification or deferred update. So what is the meaning and how it play important role in case of log based recovery, and what is its role that we try to understand. So deferred update, deferred means what? The meaning of deferred is postpone. Okay, so updates are not returned to disk until transaction has reached its commit point. Means the particular transaction is performing particular change, so related to that we are not saving that particular change in our log unless and until that transaction gets committed. Once that transaction gets committed, all the activity related to that transaction has been returned to the disk. So update to the database is postponed until transaction completes its execution successfully and reach to the commit point. This is what important thing in deferred database modification scheme. Unless and until transaction is not going to commit, its information, its set of action, its set of activity is not being stored in case of a log. So this is what a deferred database modification scheme. Then the second scheme is immediate database modification or immediate update scheme. So what in that scheme, what is happening? All updates to a database are applied immediately. Okay, all the updates to a database are applied immediately as they occur without waiting to reach to the commit point. So in this case all the updates related to that transaction has been maintained into a log whether it's committed or not, because it is a immediate database modification. You are just immediately making change in the log. Okay, all updates are applied immediately as they occur without waiting a transaction to reach the commit point. This is what a specialty of this particular scheme called as a immediate database modification. Okay, and record of all changes are kept in a transaction log. So log based recovery is very important. For each and every transaction we are maintaining the log, and log can be used for the recovery. And log based recovery is having two techniques, two scheme. It adopts two scheme. First one is a default database modification, where they they are not going to save the changes in the log unless and until the transaction get successfully executed. And second one is immediate database modification, where all the changes, whatever the changes or whatever the action performed by transaction, are immediately reflected in case of a log. So this is what a log based recovery technique. Now the second technique that we are going to discuss is what a concept of a shadow paging. So in case of operating system, you already learn about the concept of paging. So first of all, we understand what do you mean by page. So in this case, in terms of a database, the database is partitioned into number of fixed size block, and that is called as a page. In case of operating system, what we are saying, that your memory, your memory is divided into a same size of a block, and that is called as a paging. Similarly, that paging concept we are used in case of a database, where we are saying that the database is partitioned into a fixed size of length, size length block, and that is called as a page. Okay, so for that paging page, what we have, page table. Page table is a data structure which maintains the information about the pages, because it holds the address. It follows the concept of pointer, that page table holds the address of a particular page where that page resets, because it is not necessary that all the pages are in sequential, they are randomly stored. So in that case, page table will maintain the address where that particular page resides. So this is a shadow paging technique. So shadow means what? Duplicate. So in order to explain this concept of shadow paging, I will give a simple example so that you will try to understand how shadow paging works in case of a database. Suppose you have just created one file, you have created a word file, and you have written something. Okay, so you have just created one file, say ABC, and now you want to write some data into that. So for that purpose, you have just open this file. Okay, first of all, you have just created this file on the secondary memory, then just by double clicking on that file, you have just open. Once that file is open, that file is in a main memory, and there you need to there you have written something in that particular file. But unless and until you are not clicking on a save button, the information which you have written into that file is not going to save in a secondary memory. Currently I have not pressed button, save button, so information is not stored. That means all the information is present in the main memory itself. So in that case, suppose there is a failure in the system, suppose suddenly there is a power issue is there. So what will happen? Whether that data gets saved? No, obviously that data is not going to save, because I have not saved that file. So I have not saved the data into a file. So in that case, what is a current page table, or what is a current page table and shadow page table? So in that case, I can say that the copy which is present in the secondary memory is a shadow page table, and the copy which is present in the main memory treated as a current page table. So I am making change in the current page table, and once I click on the save button, all the changes from current page table is transferred to shadow page table. So this is we try to correlate the concept of shadow paging in the in case of a database. So for that purpose, we are taking this particular example. So the copy which we have opened in the main memory, that is treated as a current page table, whereas a file which is present in the secondary memory, that is considered as a shadow page table. So once you ensure that all the changes are made successfully, you just click on save button. So all the changes were reflected on the shadow page table. All the changes were, then in that case all the changes were reflected to shadow page table, from current page table to shadow page table. So similarly, in case of a database, the concept of the shadow paging were used. So initially here you can see this is a page, these are the pages on the disk, and for these pages we are maintaining the page table. What page table consists of? Page table consists of the address of every page which resides in the memory. And this is this particular diagram represent the concept of shadow paging. So initially what we have seen, that these are the pages on the disk, and initially current page table and shadow page table is same. Okay, so this is pointing to this page 1, this is also pointing to page 1. So in that case what is happening, when we want to make particular change, so in that wherever there is a unused memory is there, so what it will do, this current page table will change the address of this particular page, and it brings to another position. For example, this shadow paging is pointing to this, and current paging was also pointing to this. So currently transaction TI wants to make a change into that particular page. So in that case what will happen, transaction TI will bring this page into unused memory. For example, this is an unused memory, so it will bring over here. So in that case shadow paging will pointing to here, but current page pointer is going to change. It is going to change from first position to last position. So in that case there are two possibilities, that either transaction is successful or transaction get failure. If the transaction gets failed, in that case what will happen, the shadow paging is already pointing to this, so that copy is being held continuously. Okay, so in that case, though there is a failure in the system, that shadow page table is pointing to that particular page. So we have already have the address of that particular page table, so there is no issue. But suppose there is a suppose the transaction is successful, the changes made by that transaction here is successful. So in that case what will happen, now this current page table is pointing to this block and shadow page table is pointing to this block. Now this transaction is successful, changes made by transaction is successful, so now shadow page table is going to point this particular page. Okay, this is a new address, and after that current page table is transferred as a shadow page table. So this is how shadow paging technique work in case of a database. Initially current page table and shadow page table is same, then after that transaction is going to make a particular change into that page, so that transaction will bring that page from their memory to particular unused memory, where current page table is pointing and shadow page table is pointing to previous position itself. Suppose the transaction is successful, in that case again shadow page will change its position from old to new, and suppose transaction gets failed, so in that case what we have already shadow page table is pointing to previous page. So this is how shadow paging technique works. Okay, so now next we discuss what are the benefits of shadow paging. So benefits are, it required a less disk access, log record overhead is not there. Here we have seen that we are not making use of concept of log, because shadow paging is one of the alternative technique to log based recovery. In case of log based recovery, we have seen that we have to maintain a log, and when there is a failure we need to check for we need to check this log for forward direction as well as in a backward direction. But in case of shadow paging technique, we are not making use of a log. Okay, so log record overhead is not there, no undo redo operation is required, so recovery becomes faster. So these are the benefits of shadow paging over log based recovery. But some disadvantage also there with the shadow paging. So what is the disadvantage of shadow paging? Commit overhead. To commit one transaction, shadow paging need to copy current page table to non-volatile storage. So the commit overhead is one of the drawback of a shadow paging technique. So I hope you understand these two basic technique used in the database for recovery. One is a log based recovery and second one is a shadow paging recovery, shadow paging technique for recovery. Now next one is next we discuss about more advanced recovery techniques. Transaction rollback. where system scan the log backward and uses a log record belong to transaction to restore the old value. This is a small technique, but we are more interested in the another technique that is called as a checkpoint. So here first of all we try to understand why there is a need of checkpoint. Okay, because currently we discuss about log based recovery and we discuss about the shadow paging. Now this is another technique for recovery, is a checkpoint. Okay, so when system failure occur, in that case what we need to do, we need to consult the log and determine those transactions that need to be undo and some transaction that we have to redo, because when there is a failure in the system, in that case we require two things. First thing is we need to redo some transaction and we want to undo few transactions. That is the thing. So we need to search the log, but in that log we don't know how up to what limit we need to search. Okay, so we require some point. Up to that point we need to search the log in a forward direction as well as in a backward direction. That is a problem in case of log based recovery. We didn't have particular point which tells us that up to which point we have to go. Okay, suppose I want to go particular place, so I should know the destination address, then and then I can move on the road. It's just like that, I'm just moving on the road and I don't know where to stop. Okay, so this is a problem in case of log based recovery. So in case of a checkpointing, we try to overcome that particular problem we face in case of a log based recovery. So we are discussing a problem. Okay, what is the problem? When there is a failure in the system, we need to consult in the system that what are the transactions that we have to undo and what are the transactions that we have to redo. That means we need to search entire log to determine this. So this search process is a time consuming. Okay, so how to make this process faster? So in order to make this process faster, there is a concept of checkpoint. So what is a checkpoint? Okay, to reduce this type of overhead, what we have the concept of checkpoint. So what do you mean by checkpoint? Checkpoint is that point which is set. Checkpoint is that point before which all the logs were taken on the secondary memory or storage disk, on which all the previous logs are permanently stored in the storage disk. Means from that particular checkpoint all the logs were taken out and it is stored in the storage disk permanently. Okay, again I will explain this, don't worry. Checkpointing is used to declare a point before which DBMS or your database was in a consistent state. Okay, it is used to declare a point before which your database is in a consistent state and all the logs are permanently stored in the storage disk. So this is what a checkpoint. Checkpoint means we need to set a particular point up to which we need to recover our data. This is what a important thing, and we are setting at particular point as a checkpoint. That means before that checkpoint everything is clear, we have taken the backup, our database is in a consistent state. No matter whatever the situation will happen, we can able to handle that situation. So this is what the thing in case of this particular checkpoint. Checkpoint is that point which ensures that before this your database is in a consistent state and you have taken all the log and stored in the secondary memory. Now let's take a simple example or simple diagram through which we understand the concept of checkpoint. Okay, now this is here you can see there are 4 transactions, T1, T2, T3 and T4, and here I have set the checkpoint. Okay, here I will set a checkpoint. So in this case I have set a checkpoint means what? Before this my database is in a consistent state and all the logs I have taken as a backup and stored in the storage disk, and after this checkpoint your system executes, and at this particular point there is a failure in the system. So in that case total 4 transactions were executed. Now in this case there exists a failure. Now you have to take a decision how many transactions you have to redo and how many transactions you have to undo, and how many transactions don't require any action. It may be a redo or it may be a undo. So in that case, suppose there is no concept of checkpoint, you didn't understand up to what limit you need to scan the log in a backward direction, or you need to scan, you need to scan your log in a backward direction. Up to what point you need to scan? But in this case we have set a checkpoint. As we have set a checkpoint, what that checkpoint represents? That checkpoint represents that before that checkpoint your system is in a consistent, your database is in a consistent state. You have taken the backup of the log properly in your storage device. Okay, so in this case I can say that can you imagine or can you guess which transaction required undo and which transaction required redo and which transaction required didn't require any action? So in this case transaction T2 and T3 required redo operation. Why? Because after successfully performing this transaction there is a failure in the system. So in that case T2 transaction T2 and T3 it need to be redo, and transaction T4 needs to undergo undo. Why? Because failure is occur, and according to atomicity property either all or nothing, either complete transaction get executed successfully or nothing will be executed. So in this case, though this transaction is not able to complete its execution completely, so this transaction T4 should undergo undo. Okay, means we need to cancel all the action that is performed by transaction T4, and we didn't bother about T1 because we have set the checkpoint over here. See, again I will correlate this concept with the concept of recovery in case of Windows operating system. In case of Windows operating system there is a mechanism where we can set a checkpoint. Means suppose I want that after today whatever the changes that I have done in my system, that should restore, I should be in a position to restore all the changes that I have done after today. So what I will do, I will set a checkpoint today itself, and after 5 days there is a failure in my system. So in that case I can able to recover my data up to that particular checkpoint. That means I have set a particular point that I am expecting that after that point whatever the changes that will be done, that can be restored, but before that checkpoint I am not able to restore this thing. So that checkpoint concept is also used in case of Windows operating system for the purpose of recovery. Now in this way this checkpoint helps to make this process of recovery faster. So that means point is set, so we understand up to what point we need to scan our log in a backward direction. So now next we discuss what are the benefits of checkpoint. So checkpointing technique is used to limit the volume of log information. So in this case your recovery process is stick up to only transaction T1 to T4. In this case you will ignore about T1 because before checkpoint, because transaction T1 is executed before checkpoint, and before checkpoint your database is in a consistent state and you have taken the backup of this. So T1 transaction gets ignored, T2 T3 will get redo, and T4 should undergo undo operation. Okay, so we are discussing about the benefits. So benefit is that it will limit the volume of log information, as well as it will limit the amount of searching that you perform, and it reduces the time required for recovery after a crash, and it also helps to clear the log record from stable storage at its get full. So these are the various benefits of checkpoint over the previous technique of log based recovery. So in this video we discuss about log based recovery, we discuss about shadow paging, and also we discuss about the checkpointing. So in the next video we discuss about more techniques related to more techniques of recovery, that is a arrays recovery algorithm. Thank you. त्याचे फॉर्म मध्ये सरांना विचारून घेऊ की कसं करायचं, कोर्स कसं करायचं, कारण आता यावेळेस क्लिअर नाही ना, त्याच्यामुळे तो विचारावंच लागेल, कारण एक एक नवीन गोष्टी येतात ना, सरांची विचारून ते फायनल करायचं. मॅडम विचारणं नाही झाला, मी काल लग्नाला गेलो होतो ना, रात्रीला आलो, तर आता मी घरी आहे. आता मी अर्धा पाऊण तासात कॉलेजला जातो आणि सरांशी बोलतो. आणि काल लग्नाला गेलो होतो ना, रात्री 2 वाजता. हो हो, मला काहीच नाही मॅडम शेअर करायला, माझ्याजवळ असतं तर मी तेव्हाच करू शकतो, माझ्याजवळ तो डेटाच नाही. हो 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 हो, मी कॉलेजला जातो आणि मग सरांशी बोलून तुम्हाला कॉल.